It's funny because it started a debate and people started arguing and fighting. And one person said that he's going to regress for sure. Another person said this is the best he's ever played. Somebody else said he's played really good before. What are you talking about? So the debate rages on. Hello and welcome to another episode of Rival Fantasy Baseball. I am Neil and this with me is Brian. What up, Brian?
What's up, Neil? How are you, man?
Not much, man. I'm doing pretty good. Feel very rejuvenated after the weekend, you know?
Yes. I think we're in the same boat. You know, it was a good weekend of baseball, good weekend, NFL draft too. A lot of good sports to kind of bring us back.
Yeah. No, the draft definitely consumed a lot of my time. Between that and my kids' basketball, I was busy, man.
Yeah, it's all three sports in one weekend, man. That's,
exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I had a good weekend. You had a good weekend. Obviously, we're hoping everyone out there had a good weekend, whether you guys are playing fantasy baseball, whether it's just in your general life, whatever it is. We hope you guys are doing good. We appreciate you for joining us as always. Obviously, me and Brian are humbled by your love and support. This weekend, man, we had a lot of chatter in the comments on a couple of the videos, especially our Trevor Bauer video. So caused quite the stir.
Yeah, just I try to be as impartial as I can on those things and use MLB history as a template for what might happen. There's no love one way or the other. I mean, I think it's so nebulous. You know, people always have an opinion. So
yeah,
it's always interesting to see what people think.
Yeah, they definitely do. And I definitely, like I said, hey, I stay true to my thing, man. I comment to every single one of them. I comment back. We keep the conversation going. So it was fun. Listen, whether we agree or disagree, I don't really care. Like, I'm just here for the conversation. I think the conversation is important, actually. So I think it had a lot of value, and people get to get stuff off their chest, right? Like, some people are obviously super defensive about it. Some people don't really care, or some people hate the guy. So everyone got to get their feelings off their chest. We look to continue to do that more and more as we can. When the topipics come up, we're not going to force it, but
we serve also as therapy to
exactly
some folks.
Exactly.
Day, so.
Exactly. So yeah, so it was good. But other than that, like you said, good weekend of baseball. We'll go ahead and we might as well, I mean, at this point, start the show in terms of our, opening segment, which is our rivals of the week. We got the real stuff.
I know, but I like to do it so that way people know how good the real stuff is in comparison.
We spent on the big, on the big toys.
Neil has got the soundboard. He's a podcast host and producer all in one, which is
that's right.
Love him. So.
That's right. We got the real sounds. We didn't want Brian to lose his voice. Doing the sound effects all the time. So
yeah, I know. Thank you, Neil. I know that's the real reason you did it. Yeah, what a guy.
Exactly. So speaking of what a guy, let's start with Anthony Rizzo. Guy had a great week last week. Just crushed it.
He saw that 300 home run mark right on the horizon, and he just decided to blow past it this week. So 11 hits, 4 home runs, 7 ribbies. He scored 8 runs too, which is nice. So he on Rival Fantasy, that was good for a total of 97 fantasy points last week, which is really good to see out of a guy who you probably drafted pretty late in your drafts in best ball or in season long. And it's, he's 34, so he's been getting up there. People wondered if, the Cubs, that was it. When he signed with the Yankees the second time around, nobody really knew if he was going to be able to keep it going. And he does this. Like, he's going to ebb and flow, but in that lineup, in that stadium, I think this is not something that we should not expect from Anthony Rizzo moving forward.
Yeah. I think he had the most home runs last week, right? Or he tied with somebody for like the most.
Yeah, he was up there.
He was up there. So just a all around good week, ton of hits, ton of home runs. So yeah, definitely. I mean, in fantasy baseball, season long, you were rewarded by him. And if you did happen to use him in any of the other games on Rival, you definitely would have been a happy camper.
Sure.
Someone on the list. Now, I didn't use Anthony Rizzo. I'll admit it. I'll be the first to admit it. But someone I did use a ton, and I've been consistently using a ton, is Gunnar Henderson. This man had to be on our list this week. Again, another guy, 8 hits. He didn't get double-digit hits like Anthony Rizzo, but still a ton of RBIs, tons of runs, even got some stolen bases. So, I mean, let's talk about Gunnar for a second, man.
I mean, he's just filling up the stat sheet. It's getting absurd. Like, it's like video game numbers from him every week almost. And I saw people chattering. I think he went 0 for either yesterday or Saturday. I don't remember which. And people online were losing their minds. Like he's not allowed to have one game where he doesn't get a hit. But no, I think Gunnar Henderson is just. I'll say it. I think he might win AL MVP. And I know we're super.
Okay.
I'll call my shot. I'll take it right now. I've been on the Gunnar Henderson train since like 2021, like in dynasty leagues and stuff. He was on my Devy's squad, taxi squad version, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, the dude is. It sounds like there's maybe even a contract extension already coming. Like they're already starting to talk about it in Baltimore. And so he scored 96 fantasy points on Rival Fantasy, right? So he's putting up those big boy video game numbers. And if you're using him, you're loving every second of it.
Yeah. Right behind Rizzo in fantasy points last week on Rival. But I mean, he's been more consistent than Rizzo. So
yeah. I mean, it's every week affair with Henderson now.
And we'll talk about somebody that you compared him to last week.
Yeah, we'll talk about how that aged like milk.
Yeah. The next guy on the list here for the hitters is Alec Bohm. I actually spoke about him a couple of weeks ago, saying that, he had a lot of hype in the sports card world. And then, I'm sure those people who have bought into him are happy right now because last week he had 17 hits, bro.
That's unheard of. You're averaging more than 2 hits a day. If you're just going, not by game, obviously, by game, it's even more than that on average. But I mean, 8 RBIs, scored 6 runs, good for 92 fantasy points on Rival Fantasy. So, he's one of those guys. I think he's just, he had a very shaky start to his career, as many of these guys do. And, there was worries last year. He would split time with Bryson Stott at third base, and then Alec Bohm just kept hitting, kept producing, and he's doing it again. And he's just a stalwart in that lineup. I think it's easy to forget about him when you have Bryce Harper and Trey Turner and a bunch of these other guys. But Alec Bohm just he gets it done. And again, we've said there's been some issues at third base, injuries and the like. So I think you can kind of just play. Obviously, Alec Bohm was drafted, but in a DFS scenario, he's a guy I think you can constantly rely on.
If I was asking you, like, just say next, this week, for example, between Rizzo and Bohm, who would you end up using more in, say, like Rival Fantasy Challenges or Bingo? Who do you trust to like kind of keep up that, not hitting streak, but like that hot, that hot hitting hand? Or do you think one is, less trustworthy going into this week?
I think I would probably take Bohm purely because I'll lean Rizzo when the Yankees are playing at home. But I think I would take Bohm kind of just in the vacuum. That's really tough. I think you're kind of splitting hairs just given what they're doing. It also depends what you're looking for, right? If you're just purely in a points league, I think it's kind of a toss up, which this might be an interesting challenge for us to do today. Right. But I think, in a vacuum, probably give me Bohm just because he's going to get you more like base path stuff. He's going to hit more singles. You're not as reliant on the long ball and on the big booms as you are from Rizzo. But I mean, again, splitting hairs. And so just to reinforce my point, right, the Yankees start a 4-game set with the Orioles today. That's not great matchup, but then they go home on Friday to play the Tigers over the weekend. So, I'll probably take Rizzo Friday through Sunday.
Gotcha. And then some honorable mentions. Again, we can't get everybody on here. We try our best to, squeeze some extra players in here on the list. So we got Edouard, Julien, Minnesota. He had 3 home runs, 7 RBI, 7 runs. I mean, those numbers right there could have been on the list right there. I mean, that's just as good.
It's a nice week for him, for a guy who Minnesota has been trying to get going, several times. So it's good to see him figure some stuff out at the plate.
Yeah. And then our boy who could be on this list every single week, I'm going to highlight him every single time. He had 8 stolen bases last week. Elly, man.
I mean, what more is there to say? He's a video game character putting out video game numbers.
Yep, and I'm just going to keep on mentioning him. I'm
sure nobody's going to get mad about that.
There's already been people mad in the comments.
Yeah, so I know. That's going to just stay the way it is, apparently.
It is what it is. And then 2 Washington players. I thought it was interesting. Nick Senzel. He had only 4 hits and 4 home runs out of him. So I thought that was interesting. And then Jacob Young, he had a little more hits, 9 of them, but 5 RBIs, 7 runs, 4 stolen bases. I thought, interesting to just highlight, some national players who were stepping up.
Yeah, it's good. And truth be told, until we talked today, I didn't really even have Jacob Young on the radar. The name Nick Senzel, a lot of people will probably recognize him like that post-hype sleeper from his days playing in Cincinnati. Didn't pan out. He was a highly touted prospect. Came to Washington, but he got hurt before the season started. So, he's just a lot of roadblocks. Good to see him mashing. And yeah, Jacob Young, it's nice again to see. We've done this a lot on the show. Like the Nationals just have different guys doing it every week seemingly. And so it's cool to see, a different name pop up that isn't CJ Abrams.
Yeah.
Doing it for them.
And I'm curious what you think when you see something like that, like 4 hits, 4 home runs. Do you go, okay, he's just going to fall off a cliff? Like that isn't obviously, something that can continue to carry over. Or do you go, hey, that's some success. That's a positive, thing to start looking at. Maybe it will turn into just hits, not necessarily 4 home runs every time he hits the ball, but, or do you look at it as like, just kind of fluky. I can't trust this guy, or it's just, we're just highlighting it now because he did it, but we can't really trust him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, I don't think I'm ready to trust Nick Senzel just based on like his track record alone, if you're just looking at him. But in a vacuum, to me, the 4 home runs and 4 at-bats is saying that the line drive rate is better, that he's, putting the ball in play. He's got a better launch angle than he probably has recently. So maybe something is getting figured out in that regard. I'd be interested to look at like what his launch angle was, what his ISO is. He has a very low walk rate too. So, and he strikes out like, I think almost a quarter of the time. So Nick Senzel loves to swing the bat. So the power has always kind of played, but he does strike out a lot too, which has been kind of his downfall.
Yeah, that's tough. All right.
So watch him, enjoy the ride, but I'm not running out to my waiver wire to pick up Nick Senzel, especially because we don't know if he's even going to stick in the lineup every day.
Right. Exactly. All right, cool. So those are the hitters that we wanted to mention. Of course, you guys can drop your hitters in the comments if you think we missed one, or if you want to acknowledge your favorite team's hitter that got hot this week, drop them in the comments, let them know. But that's who we honored. That's who we're going to, honor this week. Those are the hitters that we're going to mention. But again, drop yours in the comments. Let's move over to the pitchers that we want to honor for Rivals of the Week. The first one is Ranger Suarez for the Phillies. He had 2 wins this week, under 1 ERA, 13 strikeouts, 15 innings pitched. So pretty solid all around.
Yeah. It's, we kind of said this last week about Aaron Nola, right?
Yep.
Like you have Zach Wheeler and then everybody kind of gets lost in the sauce in the Phillies rotation after that. But Suarez I think he was a very popular, like late round pick this year for a lot of people, kind of mid to late if you were punting pitching.
Yeah.
So that performance that you just mentioned, 2 wins, 0.6 ERA this week, was good for 62.15 fantasy points on Rival Fantasy. So, again, he's a guy I'm taking in probably in every challenge, unless they're playing the Braves, right? Like,
yeah,
it's Ranger Suarez. He goes out there and he gets it done for you.
Yep. Can't be mad at it. Cannot be mad at it. The next gentleman, you kind of have, liked him coming into the season. So I'm going to let you, shout this gentleman out.
Dude, Tarik Skubal, in the words of one of my favorite sites to look at for baseball news pitchers list, ace is going to ace, man. Like Tarik Skubal is an ace. He's proving it. 0.69 ERA, very nice this week. 2 wins, 15 strikeouts, good for 60.5 fantasy points on Rival. I mean, look, this is what AJ Hinch does. He puts together a staff that is very good at teaching these young pitchers how to use their arsenals properly. Yep. AJ Hinch as a manager was a catcher. So I think I've said this several times, several weeks previously, but I trust in AJ Hinch's management, and it's showing because the Tigers are having a very nice season and Skubal is a big part of that.
Yeah, not mad at it. He's looked pretty dominant out there. So shout out to him. And the next one on the list, our number 3 guy is Erick Fedde, White Sox. White Sox pitcher on the list, man.
All 6 wins that the White Sox have, they've had some pretty good pitching performances. But no, he got a win this week, sub 2 ERA, 20 strikeouts, which is really, really nice to see. So the stuff is playing. Obviously, people are swinging the bat. I think he went 8 innings against Tampa Bay this weekend, so almost through a complete game. It was really close. His last 2 starts yielded 64.25 fantasy points on Rivals. So, yeah, good. Again, we're gonna probably see this too with we'll talk in waivers about Garrett Crochet too. With
Yep.
The White Sox there are some bright spots in places that you may not have expected them to be a couple weeks ago. So, good for Erick Fedde to see him. He's a name that's always floated around the league for the last few years. So he's getting a little bit of credit finally.
Yes, sir. We have a Yankee on the list on the honorable mentions because I didn't want nobody, Yankee fans are going to get mad if we don't mention them. So Carlos Rodon got 1 win this week, 12 strikeouts. Solid, right? Pretty happy about it if you needed the guy.
Yeah, he had 8 Ks just in his game on Sunday or Saturday alone. So
yeah,
the slider, I think that's the pitch he kind of lives and dies by, and the slider was playing this weekend, so people are starting to swing at it. He's starting to get a little bit better command than we saw last season.
Yeah, and then another 2-win pitcher this week, Keaton Winn, 2 wins, 11 strikeouts. Win is what he does, man.
More like Keaton wins. Yeah, I mean it's and we'll talk about this too, and you'll see it in our waiver article. But I mean he's very much like forcing the issue of how did the Giants keep him out of the rotation, because there was talk that he'll be a back end guy. They may move him back out once Blake Snell's back. I don't know how you do that at this point.
Yeah,
he's looked too good to do.
Yeah, you love when guys make their case. I mean,
yeah.
He knows what they want to do, but he ain't gonna make it easy,
No.
So
and he's a young guy, so it's good to the Giants could use some youth and some. I mean, young. He's 26, but for the Giants, that's pretty young. They tend to skew older.
Hey, listen, that's young to me, man. I'll take
yes.
it. I'll go back to 26 any day.
Yeah, by baseball standards, that's middle age.
Yeah, I know. And then just a quick reliever love, Mason Miller for the Athletics, 3 saves this week, 8 strikeouts. I wanted to give a little love. We don't give a lot of love to relievers. I mean,
no, what a flamethrower too. And I heard there were some rumors the A's may try to move him back to starting, and I'm like, why would they even? Don't break it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. I was gonna say the old adage. Closing. The old adage: if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
In the back end of the bullpen, so let's leave him be and let's see how this goes.
Oh man! And again, those are our pitchers. Those are our honorable mentions. Again, if we missed one, if you feel like someone on your team deserved a nod, drop them in the comments. And again, we call these Rivals of the Week because we're just showing love to some of the players who helped us win, whether you're in season long, whether you're using challenges, bingo, best ball, whatever it is. So these guys are, just an extra nod to try maybe use these guys in the upcoming week if you haven't been using one of them, or try them out in your bingo lineups. So that's why we kind of show them a little extra love as well. Not just because what they did for us last week, but maybe, these guys weren't being looked at in some of these different facets that we play at. And so obviously in season long, a lot of these guys are, being paid attention to, but in our other games, you might miss out, you might miss out on using some of these guys. So always worth the extra attention. All right. That's it for Rivals. It is time for our news and injuries, Brian. Let's jump into a gentleman that you talked about last week. We mentioned your comparison to Gunnar Henderson's start and the fact that you thought the team was going to give him a little longer to, try to figure things out, but they didn't.
Yeah, I guess 40 at-bats was the upper limit for Jackson Holliday's his first go in the majors, which, my take spoiled like milk in the sun. I admit it, didn't age well at all. I was trying to be cautiously optimistic, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
But yes, so Jackson Holliday has been sent to the minors. Now I'm not panicking in best ball. He shouldn't have been drafted as your shortstop one. If you drafted him as that, or your second base one, that was risky in and of itself. So, he's probably on your bench anyway, assuming you haven't been decimated by injuries. So, be patient. I assume give him another, month in the minors. If that long, he'll figure it out and he'll probably be coming back. So, I think he's 20 years old. I mean, he's a kid. He's got time to go and figure it out. And obviously, like we've said, the Orioles don't need him right now, which is a heck of a luxury to have the number 1 pick and not need him.
Right. They don't need him right now, and like you said, you shouldn't need him either in your best ball, or
Yeah.
if you drafted him, you were taking a shot as a like lottery ticket. You were just hoping that it pays off, and if they send him back down, it shouldn't kill your team, right? I mean, if you did this the right way, it shouldn't be killing you. So,
And I mean, if you reached and you took him as like a high end bench player because you were, convinced that he was going to perform
right.
immediately, like I understand, but this is the reality of the situation. I don't think you certainly don't dump him in dynasty leagues or anything like that.
No, yeah, absolutely
Of
not.
course, but if you need the bench space, you can probably do it in your redraft leagues. But I mean, just I'd hold on to it if you can afford the bench spot.
Absolutely. And then another guy who, people had high hopes for, man, like just high expectations. And maybe, and again, maybe it's just our expectations are out of whack, or maybe, it's just a slow start, whatever the case may be. But Jordan Walker sent to AAA.
Yep. Yeah. He was batting 155 before he got sent down. So a lot of these happened early last week, I know, but we're catching you up from last Monday. So I think he got sent down. It was maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, but he was batting 155. His BABIP, he was having a lot of bad luck. Like he was hitting the ball relatively hard, but his hard hit rate was also down from last year too. So, I guess the Cardinals, they're kind of in that limbo of like, we don't know if they're going to be buyers or sellers as the deadline gets closer and closer. Are they going to be able to compete against the Brewers and the Cubs in that division? Hard to say. But when they did the same thing last year, they sent Walker down. He was struggling pretty mightily, and then he came back. He was hitting 277 with 14 home runs in the last about like 95, 97 games last year. Yeah. So, we could see Walker back up sooner rather than later, but he's also a pretty young kid, so he will figure it out. He's a very imposing figure. He's like 6'5", so like like you're always expecting the power to show a little bit more than it has, and this could be the time that he figures it out. And but you get a lot of these guys who we'll talk about somebody in waivers who is kind of in this same boat of like a post hype sleeper, highly touted prospect finally starting to figure it out. Just got to be patient with some of these young guys, especially in organizations that have a track record of developing these players very well.
Right. What do you think about? I seen a MLB Network host, Greg Amsinger, kind of slam the Cardinals, and they're saying like he said that I want to see him fail hitting second and third, and it's frustrating the way the Cardinals have handled it. Like, how much when you see situations like this do you put on like the team, and do you just put on like just the player? Like it's just not happening. I mean,
yeah, I think in this instance you can do both. I think it is the Cardinals in recent years, I don't know, it feels like something is going on internally where it's like they're not the Cardinals that we've always come to expect as like the gold standard of MLB franchises.
Right.
I don't know if that's because, I mean, we could go back as far as like Tony La Russa, but like it feels like Ollie Marmol is a fine manager, but he's just like not what the Cardinals need. So I don't know. I think there could be some organizational dysfunction, kind of like riding the, their history and what they've always done, and they're not innovating and improving. And I think they just kind of expected Jordan Walker to come up and do his thing, even though he's changed positions a couple of times. I'm pretty sure he was drafted as a third baseman. I'll probably get corrected on that in the comments, but I think that's what it was. And he's moved around the infield and the outfield quite a bit. So we'll see. I have faith in the skill set that it'll play. It's just maybe it won't play on the Cardinals.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen it happen a million times that way. So we'll see how it plays out. Shout out to Jackson Holliday and Jordan Walker. Hopefully that, reset down there helps them out. So we'll see. And we're not giving up on either guy, like you said. Yeah. So it's not the end for either one. Also, Ozzie Albies. Some positive news.
Yeah. Yep. So we mentioned last week that he was on the IL, broke his toe, that he was expected to do the minimum stint. He did the absolute minimum. And then he came back this weekend for their series against the Guardians, and he just strung together 5 hits, which is nice to see. No home runs, but he did hit some doubles. He's got a couple of RBIs out of the weekend. His exit velo, like, average wasn't great this weekend, but he's he's back on the field. So just temper your expectations as far as base running and like stolen bases are concerned. But Ozzie Albies is healthy. He's a must start anywhere and everywhere, especially in points leagues. And I think any challenges that come up with him, if you're drafting him as one of your infielders in weekly or daily, he's a no brainer.
As if I didn't have enough infielders to choose from.
Yeah.
In best ball,
the blessing of the riches.
Exactly.
It's like the Orioles, we keep saying it, the rich get richer.
So. Absolutely. And then the last thing is some injuries. Not some, there's a lot of injuries. We could take these however you want. We can run through them, or we could take some time on certain players if you want, but we'll start Cody Bellinger, fractured rib. That sucks. I used him a lot in best ball. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, especially in that Cubs lineup. Sucks to see that. But on the flip side, they got to call up one of their top prospects, Crow-Armstrong, who Neil, was traded to them
from the Mets.
From the Mets, which we talked about last week. How some of these teams just seem to be feeder teams for others. But yeah, he hit his first big league hit, which happened to be a home run. So like PCA is gonna probably stick around if the power plays up and it sticks. So then the Cubs kind of have an issue of what did they do when Bellinger is back? But yeah, Bellinger's on the IL. The ribs take a while, especially because of the torque that you have to create when you are swinging a bat. So something to keep an eye on. It could be much longer than the minimum stint on the IL for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. And he is a guy that, when we were doing the season-long best ball early in the year, you were drafting him. You got some shares, and I started sniping you to get some shares too. But yeah, you were on him, pretty heavy. So again, some of these guys are working out early and they pan out, and hopefully he can, make it pan out. Like I think some guys struggle. So we'll just see, if PCA can get it done, man, in the time that he has. We'll see. So. Blake Snell, 15-day IL, sucks, but this is kind of the thing.
Yep, same injury he's had before. He's had it twice before. Supposedly it's an adductor strain, so supposedly they caught it early. Might see the minimum stint on the IL, but I think it's good for Blake Snell right now. He needed a little bit of a reset. The last few starts were not great. No,
they were not. Red Sox all beat up.
Man, yeah. So right after we got off the stream last week, Brian Bello was put on the IL. He injured his lat. Tristan Casas, they thought originally it was going to be a rib fracture. It sounds now like it's rib cartilage injury. So it might be a little less time, but it's very painful when you mess up your rib cartilage. And then yesterday, Matsutaka Yoshida left. He was pulled after his second at bat. Apparently he jammed his hand on his second at bat and he just, had trouble flexing it. So that doesn't sound like an IL stint is coming, but something to monitor. The Red Sox they're getting beat up, but they're still winning games. They're still stringing together some really impressive performances.
Yeah, they're doing pretty well still. 16-13, so that's not too bad. And then Jesus Lazardo, 15-day IL.
Yeah, so elbow discomfort. He's on the IL now with elbow tightness. Don't really know what that means. It's never good to hear elbow tightness. So I haven't heard any updates as far as what testing has yielded, if anything. I think they said Saturday he was going to go for testing. Whether that meant today or tomorrow, we'll see. But just bad news for Lazardo. He's had flashes of being really, really great as a lefty ace, and the Marlins just they can't catch another break.
Yep, I was just gonna say that.
The punches keep coming for the Marlins.
Yeah, I mean they're not playing well as a team, and they keep getting injured pitchers, and then also if you think about the fact that they may potentially try to trade someone like him in the future, and now this is not going to help that. So
Yeah, because there were talks that he was, probably the biggest piece for them for the upcoming deadline for this year. So, if these testing and these images don't come back positively, now the Marlins are looking at selling guys like Brian De La Cruz, maybe Jazz if people are into what Jazz is doing. But yeah, they just cannot catch a break in Miami.
Yeah. Merril Kelly, another 15-day IL.
Yep. Shoulder strain, which is a bummer because, the Diamondbacks they're also really getting beat up. But yeah, Kelly's got a shoulder strain. I haven't heard much else. I say this like I'm some MLB insider. It's just I'm not, for anyone who's wondering, but anything I've read, it sounds like it's, this could be a little bit longer. It's a teres major strain. So that's like I won't do the anatomy lesson, but it's the muscle that connects like your shoulder blade to the back of your shoulder. So it's like behind your armpit kind of. So when it's where pitchers, they're extending a lot out of that muscle and in that motion. So could be much longer, probably like a 4 to 6 week thing if I was guessing based on what little anatomy I know.
Yeah. We are not doctors.
I am not. Hashtag not a doctor.
And then pitching ace Zach Gallen left the game against the Mariners with an injury.
Yes. Yeah. So apparently he pulled his hammy. He says it's not serious. He says he plans to pitch his next turn this week. We'll see. So that's, some good news for the Diamondbacks rotation that Gallen at least is not scheduled to go on the IL, but something to monitor. I might steer away from him this week just to make sure that the next start does go off without a hitch instead of getting caught, holding the bag.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of these pitchers are taking their lumps and it's starting to show.
Yeah. Whenever someone gets hurt like that and they're not like put on the IL or anything, I don't risk it the next time, especially a pitcher, because man, that's especially because again, when I'm talking, a lot of times I'm thinking best ball, challenges, bingo, and I can't lose the pitcher. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, especially in a daily particular. Like if you got one shot at your pitcher, don't risk it. Avoid the injury. Avoid the guys who are banged up. Go with the less flashy, but maybe a little more solid name in this instance.
Absolutely. And then just some quick hits. My boy Cody Senga facing live batters this week. Some positive news.
Yep.
The Mets' best pitcher in my eyes, of course. So that's a positive. Craig Kimbrell left the game.
Yeah, back tightness.
So no update yet, right? Not sure.
No update that I've seen. So just something to monitor if you're relying on him for saves or holds.
Yeah, and then Tyler O'Neill, which is a good thing, returned, played good.
Yep, especially again with the Red Sox having a lot of injuries to their lineup. It's good to get who looks like he might be the best version of himself. Like Tyler O'Neill is just mashing constantly.
And he was playing pretty well before he got hurt too.
He was. So. And, thankfully it was just I say just a concussion, but in baseball, it's a little bit easier to bounce back from a concussion than it is in football. So, good to see that. And hopefully he keeps that up.
Yeah. So those are the big injury news. We did talk about Pete Crow-Armstrong's first home run. So shout out to him. Anthony Rizzo, we've talked about in the opening of the show, but we didn't mention. Oh, you did mention it that he had his 300th home run. So both of those things we talked about. Joey Loperfido, did I pronounce that right?
Yep, Joey Loperfido.
Shout out to me. Listen, that is the one thing on this show that I cannot do well. I cannot pronounce all the names the best. And there's
a lot of names. There's a lot of news that we are trying to sort through for the people. Sometimes we're going to mess up names.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're going to mess up pronunciations. Sometimes we're going to misspeak about certain things.
And man, there is so many players in baseball.
Yeah.
And players get called up
every week.
It's like someone's called up new and this guy's from over here. And it's like, man, I can't get them all right every single time. And then we're on the show, we're live. It's not like we're sitting here editing and deleting and refixing as we say things wrong. So we're just talking and things, come out the wrong way sometimes. But
I'm sure
shout out.
Some of you hear me clacking away when I'm trying to look up stuff on like Baseball Savant or Fangraphs. Like we are doing this live. And
again, shout out to the viewers who corrected me. I have no problem being held accountable for it. So
just
always
don't be a jerk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're gonna come. Like that's fine. Do it. But.
Just correct me. That's it. And the last thing, the damn uniforms, man. These freaking uniforms are finally being fixed. Players have complained about them. Fans have complained about them. Nobody liked them. And here we are. Something is being done about it.
Yeah. So supposedly the latest that the changes will be made will be by the start of next MLB season, hopefully much earlier. For anyone who hasn't paid attention or has just kind of completely looked past it, the uniforms are pretty much see-through. They can't hold up to like sweat and or sliding. There's a great GIF. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago of Riley Green sliding into home plate, and the entire like side of his left pant leg just separating at the seam, just completely opening. I mean, you're seeing a lot more than you ever intended to see on a baseball field. So
It's always eye opening, shocking, whatever you want to call it, when huge gigantic brand and organizations and they fumble something like this. It's just like, how do you make this mistake? You know what I mean? But,
and then how do you double down? Like, I don't want Michael Rubin coming for me on Twitter because he's vicious, but like,
yeah,
like the CEO of Fanatics like doubled down on the uniforms a few weeks ago. It was like, they're fine. They're going to be seen as an improvement in a few years. And now all of a sudden we've pivoted the complete opposite direction.
right.
And like you said, it's Nike and it's Fanatics. It's two of the biggest names in the space. This shouldn't have been a thing. This should never have gotten this far, but here we are. So hopefully by the time the All-Star break rolls around, we're not going to see dudes slider shorts, seams, just chilling. We're not going to see where their uniforms are tucked in. And let's get the lettering fixed on the names on the back of the jerseys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's it for the news and injuries. I do want to mention, I do see comments in the chat. We will get to those. So we're going to wait to the end to get to those. Or if we're watching, we might answer your questions as we're going along here, just as part of our show. But if you wait till the end of the show, we will answer your questions directly. I'll bring them up on the screen, all that good stuff. I just don't want to interrupt the process of the show here, man. We'll save all the questions for the end. So just hang in. See what we cover. It might answer your question just naturally, but if not, I'll automatically bring all your questions up at the end and we'll just cover those. So feel free to drop them in the chat as we go or wait to the end, whatever you want to do. But if you wait, we may end the show before your question comes in. So whatever is there when we're done, we will answer it. All right. It is time for us to move over to waiver wire, which is what a lot of people are probably asking about anyway. So let's go ahead and get into the waiver wire. I do want to mention you also have the article that you post every single week.
Yes.
So that is out as well already.
Yes. I got it out early this week for the people.
You did. It is up on the site, Raul Fantasy. Just go to raulfantasy.com. You'll see the blog. You can just go right over here in the corner. It's probably the easiest way to find it. And then you'll find all the different articles that we post. This obviously is all baseball right now, but during the NFL season, you'll see NFL. At any time of the year, you'll see different stuff. But Brian's two latest articles are out, which are the waiver and the to start. But we will talk about waivers right now, starting with Abreu.
Yeah, Wilyer Abreu, Boston outfielder. So there was some concern that he might be pushed out of the lineup once Tyler O'Neill got back. Spoiling a little bit, but Cedadine Rafaela, who is mentioned in one of the comments, there's concern, is there a place for Wilyer Abreu now? But I think the way he's hitting sub 10% strikeout rate, he's averaging an RBI per game right now. So the Red Sox rewarded him and moved him up in the lineup. So I think that he's going to stick around for a while. And the Red Sox are in a shockingly good place as far as their depth. It seems like they've been very much like next man up.
Right.
And those guys are producing. And I think Wilyer Abreu is that guy. He is the performing Abreu, not Jose Abreu. So make sure you don't make that mistake. But yeah, no, I like what he's doing. And I think now that Tyler O'Neill is back from the IL, it only makes this a better situation for Abreu because he's got even more protection in the lineup.
Yeah, and it's important. I mean, like you said, we just mentioned all the injuries that Boston is dealing with, and as a fan of a team, right? Like this is what you want to see. You want to see that your team has built the depth on your team around these kind of situations. So when things like this happen, they can continue to play at a high level. You know what I mean? So shout out to Boston for that. Next guy on the list, Joey. I'm sure I'm going to mess this up. Loperfido.
Yep, Joey Loperfido. So we mentioned it quickly in our headlines, but yeah. This is, and I know, like, please go ahead and roast me for being a Homer and Astros fan. Like, I get it. Man. It's like, that's fine. But this, on paper, remedies a gigantic black hole that the Astros lineup has, and that is first base. So Loperfido came up as an outfielder with some second base pedigree. He's played most of his games at first base, down in the minors this season, and he's just absolutely mashing the ball. It's like roughly 13% of his at-bats in the minors this year have been home runs.
That's
So
nice.
he's hit 13 home runs already. I think it's like 101 at bats. So it's just under that 13%. But he's a lefty power hitter. And in a lineup that already has Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez, that is a pretty scary proposition. We have to see if the power plays up. There's a difference between playing in the Pacific Coast League than versus playing in the MLB.
Right.
But I think he's my top priority this week on waivers. I'm probably taking him in a ton of bingo and lineups, any challenge that I can. He's going to strike out. Okay. So in points leagues, like know that he's going to have a decently high strikeout rate. That's
Right.
going to be part of the learning curve. But when he connects, that power is going to be pretty nice. And if you get 3 power hitting lefties in the lineup back to back to back, because I could see Loperfido playing up to the 5th spot pretty quick. He's absolutely a priority if you need first base or outfield help.
All right, perfect. And the last guy, kind of shocking. Kind of shocking that we're saying this, and we don't want to jinx anything, but Jo Adell.
Yeah, I think it's finally happening, guys. I think we finally did it. So Joe, as I alluded to earlier, kind of a post-type sleeper, was very highly touted. He was a top pick by the Angels 5 or so years ago, or longer than that, but he's been in the league that long, and he is finally starting to show signs of life. His hard hit rate is up to almost 52%, and his BABIP is 375. So what that basically translates to for non-stat heads is when he's putting the ball in play, good things are happening. So he's making contact, he's putting the ball in play, and he's getting on base. So it also, Jo Adell is very fast. I don't know if you guys have watched him run on the base paths, but the dude can move.
Yeah, I mean, and that was part of the problem, right? Is he couldn't get on the base.
Yes, he couldn't get on base, and so you couldn't see his full skill set. Quick tangent, but there was a video, just an absolutely botched call. I don't remember which game it was, but Jo Adell blatantly stole a base, was safe by like a foot and a half, and he got called out. The Angels challenged it. They still upheld the out call. Just awful. We'll get into MLB umpires later on in a different episode, but so I think, I like Jo Adell. I think he's worth the lottery ticket. He was starting in a platoon. He then, as soon as he got to be in the starting lineup consistently, that's when he started doing these things. So let's enjoy the ride while it's hot, and ride the hot hand.
Yeah, and a couple of things I mentioned. I mean, one, the Angels can use some good news, right? Like this, we talked about this in the past. They've had it rough, and then and two, I mean, again, 25 years old, breaking out now potentially, and this is why we say don't give up on guys, right? Like, and this is why we say you're not 25, 26 isn't necessarily old. Because I mean, the guy could start right now and have a great career still. You know what I mean? So
this isn't like Devontae Parker in the NFL, right?
Right.
It's very different when you have 17 games to break out versus you have 162. Like Jo Adell has the pedigree and he's got the skill set. And like you said, the Angels need guys who can play. They need guys who can provide sparks to that lineup. So hopefully, it's Jo Adell time in LA.
Yeah, absolutely. Some honorable mentions. Luis Garcia, another Washington National. Yep. Shout out to him.
Another one.
Mark Hanna, another former Met.
Yeah. Crushing in Detroit right now.
Brian De La Cruz, not Elly, but Brian. Yeah. Blaze Alexander. Interesting name on the list.
Yes.
A name that I slaughtered last week. Andy Pages.
Yeah, Pajes. But we're way closer. Thank you, comment section, for the help on that.
Yeah,
one.
Shout out to the comments for helping out. I don't have your name, but definitely I'll find the name and shout you out before the end of the episode. But yeah, someone definitely said nothing other than how to say the name correctly. So shout out to you. And then who else we have here? And then Miguel Sano.
Miguel Sano.
Sano.
I won't go too deep into it. It's just shocking to see Miguel Sano return to any sort of relevance because we thought he was done at age 28. So good to see him back. And again, another Angel. The Angels are doing that Moneyball thing. They're patching something together, and they're doing all right. So
Yeah, and shout out to I don't know how to say your name. I don't know, PLab8 on the comment section in our waiver episode last week. He jumped in the comments, and not waiver episode, but the clip that I made of our episode from this show basically last week. He went in there and he said, Miguel Sano, you heard it here first. First base, third base eligible, healthy, great shape, just getting into form. It's funny because it started a debate and people started arguing and fighting and said he had better. One person said that he's going to regress for sure. Another person said this is the best he's ever played. Somebody else said he's played really good before. What are you talking about? So the debate rages on.
And it looks like he looks like he got into better shape, and it's translating into like higher exit velo. So yeah, it's, Miguel Sano could always mash. It was just a matter of him doing it without a 50% strikeout rate.
Yeah.
So we're back. Don't call it a comeback. There we go.
All right, let's move over to some waiver wire pitchers. Starting with Slade in Arizona.
Slade, Cassoni. I think it's Cassoni.
They'll correct us. Don't worry.
Yeah. Again, I get everything. Everything gets all mixed up.
It happens.
Like I said, with our injuries, right? Merril Kelly is banged up. I also forgot to mention Ryan Nelson. He took a comebacker, I think, off the elbow. So he's going to be out, probably going to miss his next turn. So these younger guys in Arizona are getting a shot. So Slade Cassoni, he turned in 2 quality starts in his last two starts, and again, like those injuries are going to open up some opportunities, and we know the Arizona lineup can support these starting pitchers. So I like Slade, and I like picking guys who play for good teams.
Yeah,
he fits that bill.
Absolutely. Another gentleman we just said is fighting to stay on the the rotation. Keaton Winn for the Giants. We mentioned him earlier as a rival. Here he is as a waiver wire pitcher for you as well.
Yeah, very much so. So he's throwing that splitter a ton. So he's getting the ball down, and so that's led to an almost 60% ground ball rate. So he's the ball is getting put in play, and when it's on the ground, his defense is getting to make plays. And it like we said at the top, it's resulted in 2 wins this week. I think for him. And
2 wins.
Yeah. So don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Keaton Winn, I think he's going to stick in this and in this rotation, and I'd rather get on that trade now before you're too late and you're chasing.
Yeah, and I know we have some honorable mentions, but did you have one more you wanted to mention here before we get into the honorables?
Yeah, so Jameson Taillon for the Cubs. And he's mentioned in my waiver article and in the 2-start pitchers because he does pitch tonight. So just anybody who needs a 2-start pitcher. But he added a sweeper to his pitch mix, and so he's starting to look pretty comfortable. He's only thrown 1 game, but he held the Astros to 1 earned run in 5 2/3. So, again, the Cubs, I just like teams that are performing well. You ride them while they're hot. And I think Taillon, he's always had the ability to be a stud. I'm not going to call him an ace by any stretch, but he looks really good in that first start. And I think he's worth an ad and speculatively watching this week.
Absolutely. And while you give us some honorable mentions, and again, I'll just remind the viewers that the article has names that we haven't spoke about yet. You go more in depth on all the players on there.
I think that might give us some mentions. I think I might have to update the blog page to reflect our most recent ones.
We can take care of that.
But yeah, you guys will see it up there, the week 6 ones, because for us, this is week 6 now.
Yeah, I got you.
So some honorable mentions in the pitching world. So Simeon Wood Richardson for the Twins. They need a back end of the rotation guy. He's put together some really nice pitching performances so far. I can't give you the off the top, but I think it was he had 6 strikeouts over the weekend, so he's got like a K per 9 up to 9. But he only gave up 2 runs against the White Sox after he got into some jams, so I like him. Bryce Elder for the Braves, we like him just because they need a guy who can stick, and they continually give him a shot. So Bryce Elder, I think, is nice. And then Paul Skeens, keep your eye on it. It's a when, not an if for the Pirates. So I think once he gets stretched out, you start seeing him throw 4 2/3, 5 innings in the minors. I think that's probably when we're going to see him get the call.
Yeah. All right, cool. And again, the site is updated now, so you guys are good to go if you go check it out. The articles are fresh and ready for you. All right, so I mean, I think that covers all the waivers. Let's jump over into let's start with challenges. I would say I think challenges is the best place for us to start. Let's do this, man. Let me get it up on the screen though. And for those who are watching, if you're not familiar, this is Rival Fantasy. You can play on your phone by downloading the Rival Fantasy Sports app or going to rivalfantasy.com. There is a link in the description right now that has a special offer for you guys if you want to go that route, which I highly suggest. But we have challenges on there, which are head-to-head fantasy matchups. We also have bingo, which we'll show you a little bit later. And then we have best ball, which we'll also show you later. But we start with head-to-head fantasy, which is challenges. And you see what's in front of you right now. If you're new to the show, you've never seen this before, the $15 available bet down at the bottom of Joe Ryan means that somebody has placed a wager on him. You could take the Clark Schmidt side and counter that 15. You could just do $1, $5, whatever you want to do. You can do more than 15. Or you could just skip it and say, I don't like this bet. It's not for me, and skip the challenge altogether and move on to the next one against my boy Grayson Rodriguez, which you shouldn't do. You shouldn't go against my boy Grayson. So yeah, this is how it works. And then we also will go through some of these and see if we like any of them. And then we'll also create a couple for you guys out there if you want to play along with us. If you create an account, you can either follow me and Brian on the account because you can actually add friends on Rival Fantasy. I'm a Clock Dodgers on there. He's BK Oldham, or you could just I post them here in the chat, so those who are watching live will actually get first dibs at them. Otherwise, I'll also post them on like X at Rival Fantasy, and you can get them after the fact that they're still available. All right, Brian. What do we want to do? Want to skip through some of these?
Yeah, we can run through. I like this one.
I don't like it. I do not like taking Clark Schmidt over my boy Grayson.
But see, this one I may take Joe Boyle just because the Athletics have been like sneaky competitive, But these are tough, right? Because they're based on the projected fantasy points. So
right. And again, if you're not familiar, you haven't been watching the show, or you're just not up on things, you want to just double check. You can see the very nice waiver. I mean, very, very nice player card that we have here. It'll show you their recent play. It'll show you recent news, all that kind of stuff. So if you're not sure, you want a last minute check before you either accept a challenge or, agree to put money down on one of them on your own. You can see how a player's been performing, who he's going to be pitching against in case you're not sure, all that good stuff. You can also favorite players. That way you could just look through your favorites. But so on this one, Brian, you said you think you're down to take this challenge?
Yeah, I'd throw a buck on Joe Boyle.
All right. And that's, again, you don't have to go all five. Like Brian said, you could go a buck and just, get a little skin in the game, but not necessarily be amped up about it.
See, this one's interesting, but I'm not going to bet against Kenta Maeda today. I actually like him today against the Cardinals.
Yeah. And again, the beautiful thing with challenges is we've seen a couple of challenges now with Clark already, and some of it on his side, some of it against him. I mean, so it's like, it's good that you get all sides of it. Man, another guy you talked up earlier today.
Yeah, Jameson Sion, man. He's, these are tough. There's a lot of Clark Schmidt, and this is also based on the fact that they're the first game tonight. So,
yeah.
But yeah, see, this one, that's a smash on Grayson Rodriguez for me.
Yeah.
Even against the Yankees.
I agree.
The stuff plays out. So
we'll put 5. Now, when you put 5 on this, somebody else can come around and still take the extra leftover that you put on there. All right. So we're seeing what's here.
You just skipped one that I love, actually.
You better go back and get it, or we can create it.
I think we could actually create this and send it out to the masses. The Joe Ryan versus Grayson Rodriguez.
Let's do it
today. They're not matched up, but look, Ace is going to do Ace things. Joe Ryan to me is Ace adjacent. I don't know the disrespect on his name or the lack.
And he's playing the White Sox.
He's playing the White Sox. See, every time I target the White Sox, they decide to blow up the pitcher that I targeted. So I'm hoping Joe Ryan does me right today. But I would go 10 on Joe Ryan, and this is I'm splitting hairs here, right? This is I think this one's a very tit for tat matchup here.
Yeah, especially because again, Grayson's been phenomenal this year. He's playing a tough Yankees team, so there's there's a balance there.
He's also mentioned in my 2-start pitchers.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and place this bet. So that'll be out there. What we'll do is, again, I'll drop this in the chat first. So you guys who are watching live will have first dibs at this. So it's going to go in the chat right now. I'll do it while we're speaking so I don't forget. And then if you don't take it, then it'll be on social for anyone to grab there. So again, if you're not watching this live, then check the social just to, see if it's there. If it's gone, I'm sorry. Create another one and try to get it accepted by somebody. All right, so that one's in the chat for you guys to accept. I'm labeling them this time, Brian, so that way it's a little easier for people to not, to know what challenges they're taking.
Figuring things out every time. Every week we get better and better. Get
a little better at it. All right, do you have another one that you wanted to create for the people?
I'm in the battle of the New York first baseman today. I think Anthony Rizzo versus Pete Alonso.
Oh, my boy Alonso. How dare you? How dare you?
Well, and I'm saying this because I like, Alonso is going up against Jameson Taillon. So this is me kind of hedging, right? Because I think Pete's going to have a good game. I like Pete over Rizzo today. I think Rizzo might have a down game coming out of that really hot weekend. So I would probably take Pete over Anthony Rizzo today.
Yeah, and this one, I feel like would be a high chance to just get taken right away. Because again, you got the overzealous Yankee fans out there. You got people who've seen Rizzo playing hot as of recently. It's just inclined to be an easy one for someone to take and, see both sides of it. So that challenge will also be placed in the chat right now. So you guys have first dibs. And then, again, it'll be on social later.
Also, Neil, I just do want to correct myself real quick. I misspoke. The Astros do not play tonight. They play tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So Lil Profito, I think, will be batting 5th or 6th in the lineup tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Not tonight. Just want to correct myself before the comments do.
Nice job, Brian. Nice job catching it. One more?
Oh, yeah, man. One more. Let's go, questionable pitching. This is going to be a gross one, so buckle up, folks. I'm thinking Garrett Crochet versus Griffin Canning.
Okay. All right. Crochet.
And then we got Canning for the Angels, Canning against the Phillies, and Crochet against the Twins.
Let me see. Yeah. How do you spell the last name? Just make sure I'm spelling it right.
Canning.
Okay, got it. Canning. Okay, perfect. Just wasn't coming up the first time.
And then
all right,
I'm doing it. I'm taking Garrett Crochet. I'm doing
it.
I'm gonna take him.
Hold on. Who are you taking, sir? Solo screen.
I'm gonna take a White Sox starting pitcher, Garrett Crochet, in my challenge today, because I am more confident that he will not get as shellacked by the Twins as Griffin Canning will get shellacked by the Phillies. I'm saying it right now.
This guy is going crazy. This guy is going crazy right now.
Well, nuts, guys.
This guy's going crazy. How much money are you putting on this madness?
I'm putting a 10 spot.
Putting a 10 spot. Okay.
Right? Yeah.
All right. Put a 10 spot on it. We'll put this out again to you guys. Want to give everyone a chance.
Yeah, I like hitting these matchups you don't think about necessarily. And, it's nice in baseball. Pitching matchups are super easy, right? You get a different one every day. So, that's why we're having fun with these challenges. We get to do some deep cuts that otherwise probably wouldn't get the time of day.
Absolutely. All right. So we accepted some challenges that were created by the system that you guys had out there already. We just created some social challenges for you guys to accept. Again, they're in the chat if you're watching live. This is the benefit of being subscribed and watching live. If you're not, then again, they will be on the socials at Rival Fantasy. Go there, follow it. Now we will jump into some bingo. It's bingo time.
It's bingo time. It's
always bingo time. It's bingo time. All right, let's pull it up. Some fantasy bingo.
Well, look at those wins.
Oh, we don't want to brag about them,
Brag we don't want to brag. Brag on it.
We don't want to brag about a little four-corner action here and another four-corner action over here. Same lineup.
It is doable.
It is definitely doable. When you pick, a all-star lineup like I do, man, sometimes
it's hard not to.
They just can't stop you. They just can't stop you. All right. Let's create a lineup for this. For those, again, watching, if you're new to the show, which I'm sure there's some out there, you're picking a lineup. There's no restrictions to your lineup. So there's no like salary cap or nothing crazy like that. You're basically just filling in these roster positions that you see in front of you. And then bingo cards will be generated. And you're hoping that you either hit 4 in a corner, like you just seen my wins from last week on there, or you're hitting 5 in a row in any, certain direction, and you'll win a percentage of the pot, depending on, if you're the only winner or how you won, all this kind of good stuff, which you'll find that information on the page. Again, a lot of fun. Only place you can play it is at Rival Fantasy, and it's $1 per card, so very low barrier to entry. Yes. Let's set this up, man. All Can I get my boy Luis Severino on here, man?
Yeah, I think I actually love Severino as a.
Okay, good. Severino. Severino. Listen, let's just get him on there. That's my pick. That's my pitcher pick. You pick one now.
All right, I'm gonna go with Jake Irvin for the Washington Nationals against the Miami Marlins tonight.
You seen those hot hitters in Washington, and you think they're going to back up the boy?
I hope so, man. I hope so.
Not mad at it. And then we need one more pitcher. We could either go a pitcher we've already used in other stuff, or we could try something different.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked much about him, but Nick Lodolo has had a pretty nice. He's been pretty nice since he's been back. So,
my best ball guy today.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him, and I know. It wasn't like a great showing against the Phillies, but like it's the Phillies. So
yeah. All right. Some infielders. Let's get some infielders.
So, yeah, I guess, do we go shortstop like we have been the last few weeks?
I mean, that's really my move. That's my move.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, if I'm picking anybody, Gunnar is in every stinking lineup. I mean, until he stops, he's the man. So,
and then do you want to play it kind of simple and go Mookie, or do you want to get?
I think let's go chalk on the infield today.
Let's do that.
Mookie.
All right, then we need some outfielders.
Yeah, outfield. Outfield has been a challenge to pick for.
It has.
Where the guys who are supposed to perform aren't performing. They're not doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah, Juan Soto's been decent, but other than that, it's been kind of tough. Trout's been decent.
So, I think Connor Joe, man. I like Connor Joe today. I think he's been leading off for the Pirates a lot, and against Oakland,
it's a good matchup.
You could do worse. You could do worse than Connor Joe.
And again, the achievements that we get on the card, we never know what they're going to be. So
we don't. You're going to find that out once you have submitted. So it's you're building a DFS lineup based on skill with the hopes that you get the achievements that most cater towards you.
Exactly. So it's not like, who's going to smash a home run? Let me just get him in the lineup, because you never know which guy, which way you're going to go. So,
which is why I kind of like Brian De La Cruz as well, because he's got that he can mash, but he can also strike out a lot. We don't really know what he's going to do.
We'll get him in there. He can have some big games.
He's been hot lately.
Yeah. All right, and then we need two utilities. Could be infielders or outfielders. Doesn't matter. Trying to see.
I've been monopolizing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, man. I'm trying to think. Who am I a fan of this week that I really like?
Yeah,
Schwarber's pretty good.
There's a lot of interesting matchups, especially today, right? Like you have some teams off, but something we haven't talked about at all is the Kansas City Toronto matchup, right? Like they're playing again today. So do we want guys in those lineups? We haven't really talked about the Dodgers going into Arizona. That's a pretty good offensive matchup, I think.
Yeah. So you think of a George Springer? He hasn't been,
Yeah, I mean Springer, but he's also good for a stolen base, maybe.
Yeah. So we could put Springer in there.
Yeah,
he gets a little bit of action across the board. And then what was the other game that you were saying that we didn't really talk much about?
We hadn't talked too much about the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks outside of the Diamondbacks injuries, right? So, guys like Teoscar Hernandez, he could be kind of sneaky, but I know we got Mookie in here already. So
we can go Marte. I mean,
Cattell. Cattell's been gonna Cattell.
Cattell's gonna Cattell. Otherwise,
so I do like that.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't think is Lourdes. Is he healthy right now, or is he hurt?
I think he's playing.
He might be.
Yeah, I think. No, actually, let's avoid it because I think he has missed the last few games.
Yeah, so let's leave him out. We'll go Cattell.
Yeah, let's go to Cattell Marte. I like that.
All right, cool. And we'll do 5 of these cards. Give ourselves some decent chance. All right,
Let's
cool. And then again, it just automatically creates achievements for you. Every card is different, by the way. So if you buy 1 card, 5 cards, 10 cards, they're always gonna be different. If you do, 2 different lineups and you buy 1 card each, those cards are gonna be different. There's no card that's the same. So just depends on how it plays out for you. So all right, I feel pretty good about our bingo lineup, man. But then again, I always feel good about my bingo lineups. And then,
that's the nice thing is you get to feel good up front, so that way when you're let down later, it doesn't hurt as bad.
Exactly,
because it's your own doing.
So. Exactly. All right, cool. So that's it for bingo. Let's go ahead and jump into our last segment, which is best ball, sir.
Best ball.
Let's get into some best ball. Now,
you want to do a head-to-head?
Yeah, we could do a head-to-head because that's probably the only ones that are going to be filled. There was one I was watching earlier, and then it filled before the show. I was like, damn it.
I saw the same one. I was like, wow, that was terrible.
I purposely didn't join it. I'm like, if I join it, then people are going to be encouraged to join it because they're going to see it filling up even more. But again,
so many people are playing on Rival Fantasy.
They just fill
time these lobbies. They're filling up at crazy intervals,
we can't time them. We can't time them because they fill up too quick. But again, this is best ball. You don't adjust your lineup. You don't, you can't trade players. You can't, you don't have to make sit decisions. If you play a daily one, then it's just for that day, as you can see here, April 29th, or you can play for the whole entire week. Whatever's up to you. NBA playoffs is also available if NBA is your thing. So go check those out if it is. See, someone's got a $25. That's me. Got a $25 one sitting here for whoever wants to, get froggy with me. But we got some baseball ones here. But let's do a 2-teamer. Did you join one already or?
No, I'm going to join the $3 Monday.
Okay.
We'll keep it low for the people.
Got it.
Low stakes.
Okay, we're both in it. Everyone, when you're in a best ball, you have 5 minutes basically for that league to start. So you want to go ahead and get in there. That's when you can set up your queue, just in case if you're not going to be there. If you're not going to be there, I highly suggest you set up your queue. Too often, I just let it do what it does, and it doesn't play out well for me. So definitely get in there, set your lineup. Make sure again, you know which day you're playing for, so that you get the right starting pitcher. Because for example, with the daily one, you only get 1 pitcher, so you want to make sure that you have a pitcher who's playing today. So you want to make sure it's that day, the correct day you think it is, because it says the 29th. Sometimes you get in here and games have already started, so you're actually drafting for tomorrow type of thing. So just make sure you got the right day on there. And then, man, there's so many pitching options that we've talked about today that'll be good for this right now. So, Grayson Rodriguez, Schmidt, Maeda, we talked about him. There's so many guys. I don't know which way you're going to go because there's a lot.
The nice thing too, right? Because you only need 1 pitcher, you can wait until the end and you can just load up on your offense.
Yep.
As we kind of mentioned at the top, right? Like we're starting to see a lot of these offensive players are putting up more stats than the pitchers on the whole. So things to keep in mind as you're filling out your daily lineups and your daily drafts like this too.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you already have your guys in mind, man?
I do. I know generally kind of where I want to go. I keep going down my daily rankings, and I'm just shocked how it's just so full of shortstops. It's kind of absurd how many good shortstops there are in the league this year. And same with outfielders. Outfield has gotten surprisingly deep over the last few weeks. Like we're starting to see guys even out and kind of come back to form. And that's not even to mention the guys who are out with injury.
Right. Like
say a Suzuki, who I think I had in our bingo lineup like 2 weeks ago, and then he got hurt or he was put on the IL like that same day and stuff like that. Right. So, and you're looking at your Jordan Walkers who aren't up anymore, which sucks. So yeah, there's just so many ways you can go for a daily draft, and when it's just a head-to-head, you're leaving so many people on the table. It's
right.
You feel weird.
Yeah, you do
when you're drafting, right?
Exactly. And it's one of those things where, again, I've drafted with people in 2-teamers, even 4-teamers sometimes, where you see some people just tend to target the bigger names, the guys who just, end the season at the best, and then you see some people who really dig deep, man. You can tell they've really done their homework. They're playing off matchups, and they're really going that route rather than, the obvious bigger names who tend to produce, just more often. Yeah. So it's an interesting, battle, which way you decide to attack it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the beauty of baseball too, is you get 162 days to try out these different strategies for best ball, right?
Yeah.
And I think baseball, even more so than football and basketball, lends itself to the daily format because there are so many different games. There's so many different lineup constructions you can do. Like we talked about earlier with head-to-head categories, this is a very different beast than like your traditional season long. You're going for maximum daily potential, so you have to balance your upside with guys that you know are going to be hitting in the heart of the order. How are you trying to get your points? Are you trying to get them through home runs? Are you trying to get them through like getting on base, scoring runs, right? So a lot of different ways to play it. If you pick Elly De La Cruz, he just gets you 8 steals in a week, and then you get all of your points through your stolen bases. So
right,
can't go wrong, guys. That's the beauty of it. Even when you mess up, it's always a happy accident.
Yeah. So I'm going to start, so I have first pick with Mr. Soto.
Okay. All right. So now I get to go back to back. So we all know getting the boy, the man, the myth, the legend.
I let you have him. Damn it.
And then I'm gonna pick my top pitcher for today. I'm gonna go with Joe Ryan.
Okay. So now that you went Ryan, I can kind of wait on my pitchers.
Yep.
And I don't have to jump since I only got to get one. So I'm going to get my other outfielder, and I kind of like Schwarber. So I'm going to go outfield there. And then for my infield, I'm going to start with Mookie.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I was pretty close. If Mookie had fallen to me here, I would have taken him. But so I've got an infielder and a pitcher. So, looking at my squad right now, the question kind of becomes at this point, do you get an outfield? Do you just kind of take best player available on your daily rankings?
Right.
So, obviously I don't need a pitcher anymore, so I can eliminate that. But I'm going to go with the man who's starting to run again, and he's playing his hometown team this week. So I'm going to take Mike Trout first. So now I got an infielder and an outfielder. And then I'm going to go back what I said. Shortstop has just been crazy impressive this year. So CJ Abrams, he ends up being in like all of my lineups.
Not mad at that. All right, so I still need an infielder, a utility, and a pitcher. I'm going to wait till pitcher to the end, of course, because we just mentioned why. I'm going to go with Elly. I always like that crazy upside. And then I might actually go with one of my boys, man. I might go with one of my boys today.
Cisco. All right. So you went 3 shortstops.
Yeah. I'm crazy, bro. I'm crazy.
So I'm going to go kind of deep into the outfield rankings, guys who have been, kind of left for dead. But I'm going to take Cedric Mullins because they are playing the Yankees this week, and he's always hyper competitive, and he's just been on a tear. So I got that Mullins Henderson stack. And then I'm going to take a guy on another team that I've been very impressed by. I'm going to take Riley Green for the Tigers.
All right. And now I get to end it with a pitcher. And I'm going to go.
Grayson.
Nope.
Nick Lodolo.
Mix it up a little bit. Mix it up a little bit.
No, I like that pick today. I think it's, I think the Pirates have been really nice, but it's they do have an exploitable lineup at parts. Yeah.
So I wanted to mix it up a little bit. I will have Grayson in some lineups, but also I got Juan Soto. I don't want to have Grayson getting beat up by Juan Soto or Juan Soto being killed by Grayson. So I kind of switched it up a little bit.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
right.
I just like shortstops and center fielders. So here's hoping the speed pays off.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up with Mookie, Lindor, Soto, Schwarber, De La Cruz, Lodolo. And you can go to the stand-ins. We can see that, of course, I'm projected higher than Brian because I'm better than Brian. He picked Gunnar, Abrams, Trout. I picked Trout in a lot of leagues too. Mullins, Green, and Joe Ryan, his ace. So we'll see how this plays out. Again, this was a daily, so this is just for today. We'll know by the end of the day how we did, Brian.
Yep.
So
this is going to be a good matchup. I'm excited to see how this one pans out.
Yeah, I'm excited about it as well. All right, so, damn. This is a fantastic episode, man. We covered everything from our rivals of the week to the news and injuries of the week to waivers to everything we could think about. Now, again, you can always go to the website, rivalfantasy.com, to find Brian's articles, which you also have a 2-star pitchers article up, right? That we did not talk about.
Yep,
So they can go there for that.
Which and I've added some new stuff telling you like who's starting on Monday for their first start, who's starting on Tuesday. So if you don't get to use those guys today, you can capitalize on the Tuesday, Sunday projected. And please keep in mind, they are projections. These things change as the week goes on. So do double check me on that work if you are reading it later in the week.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, go check those out. And then of course, again, as I mentioned all episode long, subscribe to the show if you haven't subscribed. We really appreciate, the outpouring of support that we've been getting. We guys, glad to hear that you guys are finding the show entertaining, the discussions, conversation worthy, and the advice helpful. Go to @Rival Fantasy on Instagram, X, TikTok, whatever your social platform of choice to get more of our content, of course, and jump in more discussions. And then, of course, just subscribe to the channel, download the app, or play on desktop, whatever you prefer. But either way, there's a link in the description for you to take advantage of for when you first sign up and make your first deposit. And of course, shout out to everyone in the chat today. We appreciate you guys. We love the live interaction. If you missed the live and you're watching this after the fact, drop your comment or your thought in the comments below. Everything gets answered, everything gets responded to, because we love you guys and we appreciate you guys. Brian, anything else before we wrap this bad boy up?
Just great to see the comments so lively today. Appreciate everybody hopping in and saying hey, and we look forward to even more of you jumping in next week.
Absolutely. All right, guys, good luck to you in your season-long leagues. Good luck to you on your rival fantasy games that you participate in all week long. Thank you again for support. Subscribe, like this video, and we are out.